UFC 307 just took place where Alex Pereira defeated Khalil Rountree in the main event to remain the UFC light heavyweight champ. Today we got some fights to make. As you can see behind me, we have all of the relevant fighters from UFC 307, and we're doing some matchmaking. So this is fights to make after UFC 307. I'm Wyatt, and this is Fight Society. All right, guys, so before we get into the video, please make sure to like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. It really helps me out a lot. Become a channel member if you want to help our growth even faster, but any support is really appreciated. Thank you. All right, guys, so here we are, UFC 307 fights to make. We will start off with UFC light heavyweight champion, 3 times defending now, Alex Pereira, coming off of his 4th round TKO win against Khalil Rountree, where he looked a little dicey in the first 2 rounds and then bounce back to win 3 and get a finish in round 4. Many people are saying that Ankalaev is next. He's going to beat Rakic in 3 weeks and then he's going to fight Alex Pereira. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think that Jon Jones and Stipe are both going to retire in November after their fight at UFC 309. Tom Aspinall is the backup fighter. He's the interim champ. What I think you do is after Jon Jones and Stipe retire after their main event at UFC 309, you do the biggest fight possible that the UFC can do right now. Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira for the undisputed heavyweight belt once Jones and Stipe retire. Stipe is retiring for sure, even though Dana is trying to sell us on this pipe dream that Jon Jones doesn't retire after the Stipe fight. He's going to retire. There's going to be a vacant belt. They're probably not going to even just promote Tom Aspinall to undisputed. What they're probably going to do, Alex versus Tom for the vacant belt, as opposed to promoting Tom to undisputed champ like they did for Robert Whittaker when GSP retired. This is absolutely the biggest fight that the UFC can make right now, and they'd be crazy to make Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira, or Tom Aspinall versus any of these other heavyweights unless Jon Jones sticks around, which I don't think he will, and that's why you book this fight right here. Moving on from there, we have Julianna Peña. This is the most obvious one. Amanda Nunes is not coming out of retirement. You do Kayla Harrison versus Julianna Peña. Julianna Peña was trying to dodge Kayla Harrison, and she's going to hold up the division. If you guys watched my live stream with Fight Night Frankie from just last week, we predicted this, that if Julianna Peña won, she was going to duck Kayla Harrison and stall the division until they eventually forced her into taking this fight anyway. Because in my opinion, the only person that brings Amanda Nunes out of retirement is Kayla Harrison. I don't think that Amanda Nunes gives a shit about fighting Julianna Peña. The first fight was a fluke on a bad night. The second fight, we saw the real gap in skill and training and athleticism, all that. So Peña versus Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison's absolutely steamrolls her. And then maybe we get that Nunes comeback against Kayla Harrison, which could actually be a women's pay-per-view main event. Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. If Nunes was to come back and fight Kayla Harrison for the belt, that's a pay-per-view main event that I wouldn't be mad about. We move on from there to Jose Aldo, who was absolutely robbed. Mario Bautista went in there and didn't try to fight. He tried to run out the clock. He was fighting the clock, not fighting Jose Aldo. Despicable performance. I put out a video about it yesterday. You guys can go peep that. Despicable performance from Mario Bautista. His stock goes down. Jose Aldo's goes up or stays the same because it's already very high. Jose Aldo, I think at this point, because he's coming off a loss, you can't have him fight up in the rankings, unfortunately, even though we think he won. I think you have to do a very obvious matchup to make. Chael Sonnen and John Anik and Lionheart Smith, they all talked about it in the post-fight of UFC 307. Legends fight. They should have made it before this Jonathan Martinez fight at 301 and then the Mario Bautista fight at 307. You got to do it. Jose Aldo against Dominic Cruz. Legends fight. Put it on the main card of a pay-per-view. Sick fight as a feature match or a main card opener on a pay-per-view. I think that neither of these guys really needs to go 5 rounds. I don't think it's I think this is something you put to open a sick main card. Do it in December. Do it in January, something like that. And December is a quick turnaround for Jose Aldo. Do like January or February. Dom Cruz versus Jose Aldo. The January pay-per-view is most likely going to be in Los Angeles, while the February pay-per-view is looking to be in Australia again. And that makes me think that January in Los Angeles or maybe March or April in Vegas would make a lot of sense for these two to fight on a main card. We move on from there. The one wearing the scarlet letter from 307, all right? Mario Bautista. I just made a video about him yesterday. He tanked his own popularity. He fought a disgraceful fight against Jose Aldo, then was cocky about his performance. In the post-fight press conference, he said, "I love it. It's not my fault. Jose Aldo couldn't do anything about it." Well, bro, guess what? You beat Jose Aldo and you got to fight down in the rankings. No top 5 for you, my friend. You know who you get? You get Montel Jackson, ranked 15th. Yeah, this is like number 10 versus number 15. You do it as an Apex main event. You do it as a Apex co-main event, something like that. Mario Bautista does not deserve to be in a big spot. He's going to stink up the joint like he did. He does not want to fight. He wants to fight the clock. So you don't let him fight up. You make him fight down. You make him fight a Jonathan Martinez, or you make him fight a Montel Jackson. That's who I think he should fight. Defend your spot against I know this is a spiteful booking, but you defend your spot against a guy that's a pain in the ass to fight. That's lower ranked than you and probably has less than a name than you. This is what happens when you fight the way that Mario Bautista fought at UFC 307. It's terrible. If he would have won in spectacular fashion, put on an exciting fight, we'd be talking about Chito Vera, Song Yadong, something like that. But no, we're talking about Jonathan Martinez and Montel Jackson. So tough out, but it's his own fault. Moving on. Roman Dolidze beat Kevin Holland via injury TKO. Kevin Holland quit on the stool in between rounds after tearing something in his rib. Roman Dolidze is a tough one because he has fought a lot of ranked guys at 185, and a lot of the guys above him are booked, or he's already fought against them and lost. You know, he beat Vettori, he lost to Imavov, and everybody else above him is booked or talking about title shots. Like, if you think about those guys at the top, Rob Whittaker, Izzy, DDP, Sean Strickland, none of those guys are taking a Roman Dolidze fight right now, okay? And what you do, you have him fight somebody that's coming off of a loss, because I was thinking Imavov, but Imavov's going to probably fight like Bohalio or Adesanya, somebody in the top 5 that it's a more exciting fight. And also, Imavov's already fought and beat Dolidze. So you have him fight the guy that Imavov just beat last week at UFC Paris. You have him fight Brendan Allen. Both guys are iffy on the feet, good grapplers. You know, Dolidze's a little bit more wrestling heavy. Brendan Allen's got jiu-jitsu. He's coming off of a loss. I think this is a good matchup. Neither of these guys have somebody up in the rankings that they're going to fight. Down in the rankings doesn't really make sense either. I think that this fight makes a lot of sense. Apex main event, pay-per-view main card, something like that. Moving on from there, Kevin Holland lost to Roman Dolidze. Via injury, tore some rib cartilage, something like that. Quit on the stool in between rounds. Personally, I think we are out of the Kevin Holland as a potential contender type of era. I think what we have here is a guy that's around for fun fights at this point. Getting into that Nate Diaz territory, okay? Kevin Holland could still beat ranked guys, but I think Kevin Holland very clearly is here for a paycheck. He wants to fight big names often. And I don't think he has what it takes to be a world-class, to be an elite world champion type of fighter. I don't want to say he's not world-class. He's in the UFC. But I think we're at a point where Kevin Holland is not fighting contenders to try to work his way up the rankings. I think that ship sailed for me once I saw the MVP fight. Here's what you do with Kevin Holland. You have a guy coming back in December, a legend, very popular. And he has been rumored to fight Vicente Luque. It was supposed to be in August. Now it's rumored for December. Throw Vicente Luque out. Forget that. Forget that fight. Kevin Holland and Nick Diaz have beef going back to, I think, the Contender Series like 6 years ago, something like that. They have some sort of beef. I think you settle it. I think Nick Diaz gets cooked by Kevin Holland, but I think it's a fun fight. And I think it's way more fun than Vicente Luque. So that's what I do. I do Kevin Holland in fun matchups. You do Kevin Holland and Nick Diaz. You do Kevin Holland and another big name at 70 or 85. I think you just throw him on any cards that need name value, especially pay-per-views. You put him on cards that need name value. He's not going to be a world champ at this point. As much as I really like Kevin Holland and wish he was a world champion type of fighter, I don't think he has the mindset for it, unfortunately. So you do him versus Nick Diaz. We move on from there to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He was pretty brutally KO'd by Joaquin Buckley after winning the first 2 rounds. Got KO'd in the 3rd round by Joaquin Buckley. I think you have to do, this is the most obvious matchup in the UFC right now. Fight night main event, 5 rounds, maybe a pay-per-view feature fight, something like that. But I think fight night with fans, main event, either in South Carolina for Wonderboy or in London, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Michael Venom Page. Why has this fight not been booked? Why did this fight not happen instead of Wonderboy Buckley? I understand the young eat the old. I understand, but this is the fight to make. This is the fight to make. This to me is Sandhagen versus O'Malley at 170. Like the idea of a striker's dream where they're not going to shoot takedowns, especially not in this fight. Wonderboy and MVP are not shooting takedowns. So that's what I do. I think this is the most obvious booking in the UFC right now. And we move on from there to Ryan Spann, who defeated Old Man OSP by decision. And look, man, Ryan Spann looks really good and really bad. Just back and forth. There's no consistency. So when he goes up to Joe Rogan and the rest of the broadcast booth after his fight and says, "Now I care. Now I'm consistent. Watch me become a champ." Okay, little bro. Fight an upcoming prospect because you're not getting into the rankings right now. You just lost to Bogdan Guskov. You fight 11-0 prospect Umar Sy, the French prospect that just got a win last week. 11-0. Huge guy. No Diddy. Huge guy. Very tough matchup for Ryan Spann, and also a very good, like, see where he's at type of fight for Umar Sy. Winner gets a top 15 opponent. Ryan Spann versus Umar Sy, some sort of fight night main card. And we move on from there to Joaquin Buckley, who just had the biggest win in his career against Wonderboy Thompson. Called out Kamaru Usman. I see it. I think it makes sense. But for whatever reason, I feel that Kamaru Usman does not return to action for a Joaquin Buckley fight. I think you do a title eliminator between Jack Della Maddalena and Joaquin Buckley. Jack Della's got great boxing, won't allow himself to get backed up to the fence by Joaquin Buckley's pressure. Good defensive grappling. Buckley's explosive. JDM's got great combos. This is a pay-per-view feature fight. This is a fight night main event. This is a sick fight. I think this is something they gotta do. Usman, I feel that even though from a ranking standpoint, this actually makes sense. Usman's lost 3 in a row. Buckley's won 3-0. He's on a 3 in a row. He's on a tear. I still feel like this fight is below Kamaru Usman from a name value standpoint. And I think someone like him who has been a champ, been there, done that, wants other big fights. He wants fun fights, name value fights. I don't think Joaquin Buckley motivates Kamaru Usman to get out of bed and run at 5 a.m. as they say. So there is my fights to make after UFC 307. We got Pereira versus Aspinall, undisputed heavyweight belt after John Jones and Stipe retire. Harrison versus Peña, pay-per-view co-main event. Aldo versus Dom Cruz, pay-per-view main card. Bautista versus Montel Jackson, Apex main event, something like that. Dolidze versus Allen, pay-per-view main card, Apex main event. So that has Apex main event written all over it, is Dolidze versus Allen. Holland versus Nick Diaz, put it on a pay-per-view main card. Maybe, I was gonna say December, but Kevin Holland's hurt. Do like March in Vegas, something like that. Actually, no, do January in LA if Kevin Holland is ready. You do Wonderboy versus Michael Venom Page as a fight night main event, 5 rounds with fans. You do Ryan Spann and Umar Sy, winner gets a top 15 matchup, and then you do title eliminator at 170, Joaquin Buckley versus Jack Della Maddalena. Guys, that is my fights to make after UFC 307. Leave a comment down below. What fights would you have booked instead of what I booked? And yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. It really helps me out a lot. If you're interested in supporting the channel further, then become a channel member today for access to members only live streams, vlogs, and some other members perks. So click the link in the description down below or the join button on our channel homepage to become a member today. If you're interested in some non-MMA content from me, go check out my personal channel, Wyatt's World, and go check out my weekly comedy podcast, What's Up Bro, with Wyatt and Bo. Both of those are linked in the description down below. Go watch this suggested video, and we'll see you next time.